How to identify the signs of a flawed board and why it is important to resign. A board of directors is supposed to provide guidance, oversight, and accountability for an organization. But what if the board is flawed? How can you tell if the board you are serving on is dysfunctional, ineffective, or even harmful? And what should you do if you find yourself in such a situation? In this section, I will share with you some signs of a flawed board and why it is important to resign from a board that is not serving its purpose. Signs of a flawed board. There are many possible signs of a flawed board, but here are some of the most common ones. Lack of clear vision and mission. A board that does not have a clear and shared understanding of the organization's vision and mission is likely to be confused, conflicted, and directionless. A board that does not know what it stands for and what it aims to achieve cannot provide effective leadership and guidance for the organization. Poor communication and transparency. A board that does not communicate well with each other, with the staff, and with the stakeholders is likely to be isolated, secretive, and distrustful. A board that does not share information, listen to feedback, and engage in constructive dialogue cannot foster a culture of collaboration and accountability for the organization. Dysfunctional dynamics and relationships. A board that does not respect and value each other's opinions, skills, and contributions is likely to be divided, hostile, and unproductive. A board that does not work as a team, resolve conflicts constructively, and support each other's growth cannot create a positive and supportive environment for the organization. Lack of diversity and inclusion. A board that does not reflect and represent the diversity of the organization's community, staff, and beneficiaries is likely to be biased, exclusive, and irrelevant. A board that does not embrace and celebrate different perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences cannot ensure equity and justice for the organization. Incompetence and irresponsibility. A board that does not have the necessary knowledge, skills, and experience to perform its duties is likely to be ignorant, ineffective, and negligent. A board that does not fulfill its legal, fiduciary, and ethical responsibilities cannot protect and advance the interests of the organization. Why it is important to resign from a flawed board. If you recognize any of these signs in your board, you may be wondering what you should do about it. Should you stay and try to fix it? Or should you leave and find another board to serve on? The answer depends on several factors, such as your level of commitment, influence, and satisfaction with the board, the severity and duration of the problems, the willingness and ability of the board to change, and the availability and suitability of other boards. However, in general, I would advise you to resign from a flawed board if you have tried your best to address the issues, but have not seen any improvement or progress. You feel frustrated, exhausted, or disillusioned by the board's performance or behavior. You feel that your values, principles, or integrity are compromised by staying on the board. You feel that your time, energy, and talents are wasted or underutilized by the board. You feel that your presence on the board is not making a positive difference for the organization or its beneficiaries. Resigning from a flawed board is not an easy decision to make. It may involve personal costs, such as losing friendships, connections, or opportunities. It may also involve professional risks, such as damaging your reputation, credibility, or career prospects. However, resigning from a flawed board can also bring many benefits. It can free you from stress, frustration, or guilt. It can allow you to focus on other priorities or passions. It can open new doors for learning or serving. And most importantly, it can show respect for yourself, for the organization, and for its mission. Resigning from a flawed board is not a sign of weakness or failure. It is a sign of courage and integrity. It is an act of self-care and social responsibility. It is a way of honoring your values and your vision. So if you are serving on a flawed board that is not fulfilling its purpose or potential, I urge you to consider resigning from it. You deserve better. And so does the organization. How to communicate your resignation effectively and respectfully to the board and the stakeholders. Resigning from a board is not an easy decision, especially if you have invested a lot of time and energy in the organization. However, sometimes it is necessary to step down for personal or professional reasons, or because you disagree with the board's direction or conduct. If you are in this situation, you may be wondering how to communicate your resignation effectively and respectfully to the board and the stakeholders. Here are some tips to help you do that. Write a formal board resignation letter. This is a professional courtesy that allows you to explain the reason behind your resignation. Place the date of your resignation in writing so there's no confusion, and give the board time to adjust to your absence. You should use proper formatting, include date and addresses, use a formal greeting, state your intention to resign and the effective date, briefly explain your reason for leaving, express your gratitude for the opportunity, offer your assistance during the transition, and end with a courteous closing. Send your letter to the board president or chairperson. You should address your letter to the person who leads the board, usually the president or chairperson. This shows respect for their authority and role. You should also send a copy of your letter to the executive director of the organization, if there is one. Follow up with a phone call or a meeting. Depending on your relationship with the board president or chairperson, you may want to follow up with a phone call or a meeting to discuss your resignation in more detail. This can help you clarify any questions or concerns they may have, and also give you a chance to thank them personally for their support and guidance. Inform other board members and stakeholders. After you have notified the board president or chairperson, you should inform other board members and stakeholders of your decision. You can do this by sending them an email or a letter that summarizes your resignation letter, or by announcing it at the next board meeting. You should be respectful and positive in your communication, and avoid criticizing or blaming anyone for your departure. Offer constructive feedback and suggestions. If you are resigning because of issues with the board's performance or governance, you may want to offer some constructive feedback and suggestions on how they can improve. You can do this in your letter, in your follow-up conversation, or in an exit interview if they request one. You should be honest but diplomatic in your comments and focus on the facts rather than emotions. You should also acknowledge any positive aspects of the board's work and highlight any achievements or successes you were part of. Maintain a professional and cordial relationship. Even after you resign from the board, you may still have contact with some of the board members or stakeholders in the future. Therefore, it is important to maintain a professional and cordial relationship with them. You should avoid speaking negatively about the board or the organization to others, and respect any confidentiality agreements you may have signed. You should also be open to staying in touch with them, and offer your support or advice if they need it. By following these tips, you can communicate your resignation effectively and respectfully to the board and the stakeholders. This will help you leave a positive impression on them, and also preserve your reputation and integrity as a board member.